gathered in their masses.
Salut à tous et bienvenue dans cette interview exceptionnelle que j'ai énormément de joie de vous proposer aujourd'hui. En effet, j'ai eu la chance de pouvoir interviewer une artiste dont je vous parle énormément sur cette chaîne depuis très longtemps, en l'occurrence l'artiste anglaise A.A.Williams. Alors cette interview a eu lieu lors du dernier Motocultor, en l'occurrence le jeudi 17 août, et vraiment je remercie l'artiste de m'avoir accordé un petit peu de son temps avant de monter sur scène, ainsi qu'à toute l'équipe d'Énervé Promotion qui a permis l'organisation de cette interview. Alors si vous suivez un petit peu la chaîne, vous savez à quel point j'adore cet artiste, que je suis depuis ses tout débuts avec son premier EP en 2019, et dont j'ai placé ses deux premiers albums en 2020 et en 2022, tout en haut de la liste de mes albums de l'année. Alors forcément, pouvoir l'interviewer lors du dernier Motocultor était pour moi un véritable événement. Alors bien évidemment, cette interview a eu lieu en langue anglaise, je vous demanderai d'être un tout petit peu indulgent avec moi, avec mon accent notamment, c'est pas ma zone de confort, c'est pas ma langue maternelle, je suis pas du tout bilingue, mais bon, j'ai fait le nécessaire pour que tout le monde comprenne au maximum. Pour pouvoir profiter au mieux de cette interview, je vous invite à activer dès maintenant les sous-titres dans votre navigateur YouTube et de sélectionner la langue française afin de pouvoir profiter au mieux de cette interview. Mais bref, trêve de blabla, voici tout de suite l'interview de A.A.Williams lors du dernier Motocultor. Hi, thank you for accepting this interview for the YouTube Media MUSinc.
Hi, thank you for having me.
It's a huge honor to welcome you today on the channel. Today's concert at Motocultor will be the last of your 2023 spring summer tour, European tour. What have you been the most memorable moments of the year for you?
It's always so hard to tell, you know, because every gig I love, every show for different reasons. I love to sing, I love to perform, so I don't ever kind of go, oh no, I don't want to do it today. You know, everyone is wonderful. I mean, I've been grateful that this year the weather has been a little more kind to me. Last year there was a lot of very, very hot festivals. You know, Hellfest last year, as you remember.
It was very warm.
I remember opening the fridge and it was just the same temperature as outside. It was like, oh, I'm not going to get any joy here. But, you know, going overseas and performing anywhere is always a pleasure, you know, and coming to France, we've done quite a lot of shows in France over the end of 22 into 23, and I love playing here. You know, it's such a pleasure to play to, you know, you go to a new city, you go to a new festival, you know, Motoculture, I haven't been here before, I haven't been to this town before, but it's always a pleasure. The audiences are so accepting of what I do, and it's beautiful.
Okay. In September, you will be a completely sold out American tour as the opening act for Sleep Token. It must be exciting, right?
Very. Yeah? Oh my goodness! I've not been to the States to perform before at all, so I'm very excited to do it. But there's a lot of organising to do to perform, like the visas and everything. There's a lot to organise, so it still feels quite trepidatious because there are a lot of things, still forms and things to fill in and all of that complicated stuff to do. So it's hard to get super, super, super excited because I'm still slightly worried about the admin. But having said that, you know, the fact that the tour is completely sold out is incredible for Sleep Token. Like, what an amazing thing it must be for them to, you know, announce it and then not only do that and sell it out, but then upgrade it all and sell all of that out too. It's just nuts. So to have the opportunity to join them on that is just, you know, that's amazing. Stuff that dreams are made of. You know, it's not the kind of thing you can ever expect anybody to ask you to come with them again or anything like that. So it's such a real pleasure to be able to go. I'm so excited, honestly.
And how many dates?
I think 20. 20 I think they have.
20?
I think so. And they have a few festivals to do that we are not going to be performing at, I don't think. So we just get to go and watch bands, and I'm very, very looking forward to it.
Okay. What is your perspective on the first years of your career, where things process quite rapidly from your very first concert at Roadburn to the present day?
I suppose it's hard for me to judge because I don't have anything to compare it to. You know, this is the first kind of outing like this of any kind of project that I've kind of, you know, written and performed and anything like that. It's the first thing. So I can't compare it to like my luck in a previous band or anything like that. But I'm really, you know, it's hard when you're making music to know whether what you're doing is something that speaks to people and it's something that they're going to like, but also something that they want to treasure and to keep for themselves and to enjoy. And I was obviously hoping that would be the case, but you don't know until you try. And I tried, and I'm very grateful that, it didn't take that long from making some demos and all of that stuff to get to release the first EP and all of that stuff. I'm, hugely grateful. I think partially definitely luck. Do you know what I mean? You email people and they just happen to see your message just at that time. They were thinking of maybe doing something. You never know what it is that goes on. But, I've had some great opportunities to do some really cool stuff, and I don't really want to stop anytime soon. I just want to keep going until people don't want to hear me anymore. So it's been good so far, but there's more to come, I'm sure.
You performed at many different festivals, post-rock theme festivals like Dunkfest, Roadburn or Artangent, and also in a metal theme festival like Hellfest last year and today's Motocultor. Are there a lot of difference between the audience, and how do you approach this gig?
I think the one thing that I'm grateful for is that my music speaks to people who enjoy a lot of different kinds of music. So like you say, there's people who enjoy post-rock, there's people who enjoy metal, there's people who enjoy, pop and kind of alternative music. There's all sorts of people for whom they find something in my sound that they latch onto and they enjoy, and that makes them want to come. So that is super, and that kind of links all of the different audiences together in that there are some things that they're familiar with and some things maybe not so much. But in terms of the way they physically act, maybe the metal guys move a bit more, and the post-rock guys kind of, do that kind of that thing where they close their eyes and stand.
It's more tripping.
Do that kind of nice feeling thing. But the crowds are super. I mean, I tend to vary the set a little bit. I kind of go, right, what kind of festival are we going to play? What kind of songs do these guys want to listen to? And maybe then I put a couple of others in that are like introducing the other side of what I do too. So it's not all the heavy stuff or all the post-rock stuff. There's a bit of both. But every festival set is different for that reason. Like, I have enough variety, I think, in the songs to choose the ones for the right set, So because of that, it's hard to do a direct comparison. But they're all accepting of what I do. They all seem curious about the other side of things, and that's really cool.
And you reject some offer of sometimes, some festivals,
but it's only ever
not?
because of the logistics, really. Like to get everybody to the festival and back, and the financial side of it. That's the only reason ever that things get turned down, is just because of that, really.
Okay. A technical question now?
Yeah, go.
You seem to pay great attention to the effects pedals.
Yes.
Was that you completely change before each tour?
Yeah.
Your pedals board are quite impressive.
Yeah, they are growing.
Is this an important thing for you? Can you tell us more about
I think it is. I think
subject?
For me, it's important to replicate the sounds that are on the album as closely as possible within the constraints of what we do live. I'm not going to put it all on a backing track. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do it all through some little, one of these like amp sim kind of pedal sim things and just take some tiny little thing that can do everything, because actually it's not going to sound like the things I've used. So I try and keep it as minimal as possible, but not kind of, you look at me like minimal, what? It's huge. But like there's nothing on there that doesn't get used. Do you know what I mean? It's as streamlined as it can be for me to be able to create the sounds that I need. And I would love it if it was this big. But it's not.
It's
and
not
it's
possible.
that big, and it's 20 kilos, and we've all got one because we all feel the same, So it's about being able to be faithful to what we're performing and make it sound as like it does on the record, as well as we can. It's never going to be identical, But every tour you say, we take it apart and we put it back together, and because the songs are different. So you think, well, I don't need that one for this tour because I'm not playing that song, but I am playing this one, so I need to put that one there. And then you have to read,
So you have to change.
Yeah, well, you could do it without doing that, but then it wouldn't sound as good. So,
it's not difficult to be focused on your music and in the same time
what?
to
I have a switcher which I use at the bottom of the board, which stops me having to kind of dance around too much.
Okay.
So I make patches for each song, like the heavy sections, the soft sections, so I don't have to worry about turning on multiple things simultaneously, because I'd spend all my time on one leg. which is very hard in heels. So instead, I have programmed it all in advance so that certain, like a whole bunch of pedals turn on with one tap, rather than like you'd be there forever otherwise. So this is the easiest way that I can think of to make it so that I can do both at the same time.
Okay. About the composer work, how is it going? Do you do it on your own or with the other members? Do you manage to compose while you are on the road?
I try to, though it is hard to focus on doing that when you know that you've got to perform other songs. Like I tried, funnily enough, today on the way here, I was listening to the set, thinking, okay, I should just sing along, practice on the journey. But then I thought, I'd like to listen to some just like little demos or voice memos, but I can't concentrate on it while I've got to do something else. It's hard. So I try to do it when I'm at home, when I'm kind of got a period of time that's not really disturbed by much else and I can just focus on it. But I mean, I'm always doing it. I love to do it. I enjoy it. It's quite meditative and quite a kind of relaxing thing to do. Whether what I've got at the moment is of any use, I don't know. But, I always do it. So I figure there's more stuff to choose from, when it comes down to it.
A portion of your musical education stems from classical music. How does it currently shape your approach to composing? Is Baroque music, in particular, a source of inspiration for your creative music universe?
In a way, I suppose so. If you look at the way that early Baroque composers basically formed the rules of how we write and listen to music now, in terms of the chord progressions that work and don't work, and certain things like that. I think that definitely feeds into what I do, but in the sense that kind of was the place from which traditional classical music was born, So I think in terms of how the whole thing affects what I do now, it's mainly the technical stuff, it's mainly the theory in terms of enabling me to, I don't know, think about chord progression in maybe a different way, or think, okay, what other options do I have here? Hang on, and I write it all down and I muck about with it. And it's that kind of stuff. Whether I would reach the same conclusion had I not had this background, I don't know, because I've always had it. Do you know what I mean? Like ever since being very small. So I don't really know how I would do it without that knowledge. But I find maybe it's even just stuff like being able to write the parts down and like using kind of musical notation for stuff so I don't have to remember it all the time, Be writing something new, just write it down, then I'm done. It's stored, I don't have to think about it anymore. So even just the practicality and also things like arranging it for strings and stuff like that is just kind of part of my old life, really. So it's kind of, it's always useful to have, I guess. I guess it's like being bilingual. It's useful. Whether or not you need it all the time is,
Okay. Your voice is a full-fledged instrument in your song.
Thank you.
At what point does it come into the composition process? Can a vocal melody lead to an entire piece?
Yeah, absolutely. Generally, one of the last things that comes is the words. So I'll have the melody and I'll have the kind of the general shape of the whole thing. So I'll play along and I'll sing in a way to try and find the right melody and the right parts. But that always comes from humming and singing. And then later down the line, the text comes in later. But always those melodies come from in here and here first. And then out of that come everything else.
So always first the melody?
Pretty much.
Yes.
Basic chords and melody. And then from there, everything expands.
Okay. The lyrics now of your song are just as powerful as your music, with touching subject, and they are sometimes close to poetry. Where do you draw inspiration for your lyrics?
I think that we are all, ultimately the most influenced by ourselves, the experiences we've had as individuals, and, the life that we've lived. That's the biggest source of inspiration ultimately. However, I try not to write anything in a way that's too specific to me that it couldn't be related to by you or anybody else, So it's quite generalized in terms of the way things are presented, because I want people to be able to understand it and feel familiar with it, not go, oh, well, A.A.Williams did that thing once and then this. Do you know what I mean? It's less particular than that. But I think it's good to, play with subjects that are not necessarily positive all the time. I mean, if we're at a metal festival, right? I can't imagine anyone's songs really are about what a great time they're having today and, oh, they went to the shop and wasn't it great and, oh, I rode my bicycle and, yeah, then I had a birthday party. Do you know what I mean? All of us are dealing with emotions in different ways. And so I feel like maybe you can hear mine more because it's cleanly sung. Do you know what I mean? Because of the way it's presented, they're more clear sometimes. But ultimately, it's just human stuff, just dealt with in a different way. And I guess we all view our own experiences differently. Trying to find a way to vocalize them in a small sentence in a song is hard work. So you really got to unpack how you feel about this thing to find a way of putting it into a song. But in the process, that helps you, I think, process it and figure out how you really feel about it in there. And it's almost therapeutic as well as it is productive. So
it's a real hard work for you to write lyrics?
Not always. Most of the time it's okay. It's usually when you just have a few gaps left. You have like 80% of a song and just like one line here, half a line there, and it's like, oh God. It's like doing a really painful crossword to try and make it fit, but also mean something proper, not just frivolous, something silly. So it's hard to get those final. Sometimes the whole song just goes poof, you do it 20 minutes. But sometimes it takes a long time to just pull it out,
Okay. During the pandemic, you did a cover album.
Mm-hmm.
I guess the songs were from the band that have especially influenced you, such as The Cure, Deftones, Radiohead, Smashing Pumpkins, Nine Inch Nails, Nick Cave, or Pixies. If you had to choose only one, which will be your greatest inspiration?
That's like asking me to choose my favorite family member. That's very
okay.
I would say in terms of just as artists in general, probably Nine Inch Nails.
Okay.
As an artist that I've listened to, probably Nine Inch Nails and Radiohead probably tie for like artists that I've listened to for that long as a period of time, but also found to be influential, not necessarily in the music that comes out, but in terms of maybe the way I think about making it in the first place,
Okay.
It was interesting, like working on the cover for Every Day is Exactly the Same was the hardest one by far, because there's so much source material. If you listen to Nine Inch Nails, sometimes it doesn't sound like a lot's going on. You think, there's a bass line, there's a little fiddly thing over there, and Trent Reznor's doing his thing. But actually, if you listen, there's so much little pieces of information. And I wanted to make sure I got as much into the arrangement as possible, even though it's just piano and voice. You want to honor those original songs properly and not wreck people's favorite songs. The ultimate goal here is not to ruin anything for anybody. So to kind of to take these songs apart is it's educational as well. You kind of notice things that you didn't see there before because you're listening to them from an analytical point of view rather than just listening on the bus, So I think it was an interesting experience on all of them to kind of try and take them to pieces and say, right, what are your ingredients? How do I kind of take this and honor this and also make it kind of my own a bit? It's a hard work, but yeah, it was fun. It was a lot of fun.
But it's a surprise for me because I thought that you prefer Nick Cave.
Well, I like all of them. That's why they're there. I don't have
but you have to choose one.
I don't have to. Yeah, exactly. You forced my hand.
A personal question now. I read in one of your previous interview that your bassist, Thomas, is also your husband.
He is, yes.
Is this an additional element that contributes to the chemistry of your music? Isn't it challenging to tour with his husband?
I don't know. I mean, I think certainly in terms of if we split this question into two parts, if we first deal with, what is it challenging touring with your husband? Not really, because actually you've always got someone with you who has your back no matter what is the situation, And I mean, we spend a lot of time together anyway, so doing it in France or in Spain or it's no different, So, it's great actually to have. My band and I, we're a small group, and it's a very supportive environment. So anybody's got a problem, easy peasy, So again, you add into that having such a close relationship with one. It's great. It's really, really cool. And in terms of the creative elements, basically, I will write without anyone hearing anything for a good time. Get demos to a very basic point, but so that I can show them to him and he will understand what I'm trying to say here. And then from there, we work on the instrumentation together. But the first kind of 60%, I'd say, is just up here and in here,
Okay. We are reaching the end of this interview. Last question. Yeah. What's your plan after the US tour? Vacation or work on the next album? By the way,
I mean, to be honest, I don't know yet much. I mean, it would be nice to get some more touring in before the end of the year, but I don't know if it's going to happen or not. Okay. As we mentioned, I'm writing all the time anyway, so whether or not those songs culminate in something further, I don't know yet. I haven't tried to kind of, figure out whether they're any good or not. I just write, and then I figure that out afterwards. So definitely after the US, I'll write a bit, and we'll see what happens. I don't know.
Okay. Thank you very much for taking the time for the MUSinc YouTube channel.
No worries, thank
you.
Have
a great concert.
Thank you.
And we hope to see you soon to future concert.
See you soon. Thank you so much. Cheers.
Voilà, j'espère que cette interview de A.A.Williams vous aura plu et vous aura donné un petit peu plus envie de découvrir son univers si ce n'est pas déjà fait. Encore une fois, je tiens vraiment à remercier A.A.Williams d'avoir accordé du temps à MUSinc pour cette interview juste avant de monter sur scène et ainsi qu'à toute l'équipe d'Énervé Promotion pour avoir rendu cette interview possible. Je vous mets tous les liens qu'il faut dans la description pour que vous puissiez suivre l'actualité de A.A.Williams sur ses réseaux sociaux et découvrir son magnifique univers musical. Et puis vous vous en doutez, quelque chose me dit qu'on sera amené à en reparler dans le futur sur la chaîne. Avant de partir, si ce n'est pas déjà fait, pensez à vous abonner à la chaîne et à activer la petite cloche pour recevoir des notifications lors de la sortie des prochaines vidéos. Et pour suivre l'actualité de MUSinc, pensez à ses réseaux sociaux, en l'occurrence Facebook, Twitter, Discord et Instagram. Sur ce, il est temps pour moi de vous laisser, de vous dire à bientôt pour de prochaines vidéos. Et d'ici là, je vous souhaite à tous, comme toujours, de très belles découvertes musicales.